It's really fun to go back and look at some of the many fan designs for the prototype that have been created over the years and compare them to the official design from Poppy Playtime Chapter 5. Broken Things gave us our first look at the prototype after years of build-up. How close did some fans get to the official design when they were only theorising and designing? Let's take a look. Before we begin, subscribe if you'd like. I'm Kirbysterplays, how you doing? Okay, yeah, so I knew if I ever did this, I would have to start with this design, because when I saw this design previously, and I mentioned it in a video, I said that there wasn't a chance in hell that this design would be close to what Mob Entertainment were doing, and I was so wrong about that, because this design ended up being one of the closest fan designs to what we ended up getting. I mean, sure, this design has a lot more colour, this design has skulls, and is overall, I'd actually say, a bit more robotic than the official design. I mean, look at it. Firstly, the jester aesthetic, okay? A lot of people have sussed that out from the Mob Entertainment, the holiday artwork, and a few other steps, and the ARG and stuff like that. But this almost nailed it. There's a bit more colour to this one. I think that's the only real thing. And the hunched back, which a lot of fan designs did have, well, it wasn't as defined as it is in this design. So I'd say this was only a few steps away from being basically spot on. What makes this design fall short is that there isn't any representation for any other villain. So there's no Huggy, Mummy Longlegs, whatever. And in the final design, we only got a bit of that. So again, just chuck a couple more arms onto this fan design and you're almost there. I was very impressed. You know, when Chapter 5 came out, this is like one of, if not the first fan design I went back to. And I don't know, it's quite similar. Again, like the mask. The mask is close, like they got the one eye, they kind of got the teeth from what I can see. But it's just like the hair, I guess, that surrounds it that was wrong. And yeah, just little things like that. Also, I love how like this middle section is almost in the shape of a poppy. I guarantee you that was 100% intentional. So yeah, there are some things that this design does really well that were just missing from the new one. And yeah, it was just a few steps away from being correct, but a valiant effort, seriously. Okay, yeah, so this design was very eye-catching when I first saw it, and it's not close in the end, and it's such a shame. I love how this is framed and how it's drawn. You can see that there is a catnap head and multiple catnap heads actually, and multiple smiling critters by the looks of it. Mummy Longlegs representation and everything, you know, it's just too human. And, you know, again, this was drawn around the time of Chapter 4, so we didn't even know about the jester aesthetic properly at that point. All we knew at that time, really, were the legs and the arms, and the voice, I guess, which is hard to show in a picture. But, you know, it's just wrong, you know? And it's a shame, because, like, there are so many liberties that were taken with this design, and I think it is drawn very impressively. And I think there's a lot to take away from this, and I think it's great. However, nothing like what we ended up getting. Least of all because of a skull head, okay? Things like that, you know, there were a ribcage in the final design, but it's much more defined in this version, and yeah, big things like that. But it's still very cool though. Okay, so yeah, this was an interesting one. You know, the head crumbling away to reveal a skull underneath it was quite good. Like, the mask we ended up getting, it is kind of broken, but it never broke away, it never broke off or anything. I like the amount of different characters that we have here, and the poppy gas as well. Very, very effective, very good. It's a great fan design, but yeah, doesn't really stand up to the official design. What I'm getting from just these first few designs is that the jester aesthetic really changed things. As soon as that holiday artwork first came out, and people somehow thought, yes, the prototype must look like a jester, by just connecting dots, which I couldn't, that really changed the world of prototype fan designs. Because after that, most people got it like spot on. Okay, and we've seen that at the start. Something like this is almost as close as you can get without having an inkling about the jester aesthetic. Because, like, you know, there are no sleeves on this. And, like, you know, things like that. It's interesting. If the prototype looked like this, I would love it. I'd love it. You know, I am a big fan of this design. And it's just not very similar to the official design at all. I love that spectrum of imagination though, right? Like this, you know, this made full use of all of the hints that we had at the time to what the full prototype design could look like, and it ended up going in a completely different direction. So, you know, it's not bad. This design is so good. The first time I saw it, I didn't know what to say. I thought it was fantastic, and it is. Okay, let's face it, this is very cool looking. Now, one thing that was inconsistent about the prototype until basically the last moment was the size. No one really knew how to pinpoint how big the prototype would be, right? Especially, like, least of all in chapter 1, when it's just an arm on a VCR screen. Like, we don't know how big that is. So a lot of people thought, okay, the prototype is like the big bad, the final boss, the mastermind behind the Hour of Joy. They must be physically the biggest toy. And although I am pretty sure that's true, I believe that the canon prototype height is around 19 feet maybe? Some people decided to draw it bigger. And although there is nothing to compare this one to, it just looks absolutely huge. Now, the bulky design of this one, especially like towards the head I'm looking now, that looks great, and I get the reasoning behind it, but you see how things like this are just more robotic and incomplete than the prototype we ended up getting. Like, I don't see any sleeves, I don't see much colour, but that makes sense. It's a prototype. It's an incomplete toy, right? It's an incomplete, abandoned experiment. There is merit to something like this, you know? I thought it looked cool. This one actually looks quite similar to that previous one, you know? Not much colour on it, very robotic, so quite a bit separating this from the official design. But if this is what the prototype did end up looking like, I wouldn't have minded. You know, I think that's actually, like, this is great. This is one of the only prototype van designs I've seen which has a weapon on it. Like a straight up gun. Or maybe it's a light, or like some kind of flamethrower. But, like, you know, thematically, incineration has been a big thing in Poppy and Project Playtime, so maybe that's what it would have been. But there is actual, like, artillery on this design, and that's something that sets it aside not only from the official design, but from most other fan designs, so that's very cool to see. Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, with the neck and the spine and the ribcage and everything, a lot of people took Catnap's Shrine very seriously, very literally, after Poppy Chapter 3 came out. And I understand why they did that. You know, it was a massive indication that came out of pretty much nowhere. It was our biggest hint to what the prototype could look like at the time. In the end, we now know that the shrine was made for a previous prototype design that never came to be. But I can see, kind of, I assume, where this got a lot of the hints from, this design. And, you know, I'm not knocking it. The point of this video is comparison. And I have to be totally honest, I love every design that features in this video, okay? These are just some of the closest that I've found. Like 90% of fan designs are further away than this. But comparatively, between this and the official design, there's not much. You know, on the Venn diagram, there's not much in the middle. I'm gonna miss this. I'm gonna miss just the wacky, weirdest designs like this. What were they thinking when they were making something like this? You know, the prototype not being an amalgamation of toys with multiple faces did surprise a lot of people. But this is just insane. I don't even know what to think. Like, there's nothing comparable other than the prototype arm, perhaps, and even then, that's superseded by this bigger one. Jesus Christ. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm gonna miss just these random weird-ass designs. God, they're crazy. And the thing is, like, if this was modelled as an actual, like, well, model, I can see it kind of working. Because Mummy Longlegs is there from the end of Chapter 2. Like, there could have realistically been a huggy face. If the smiling critters were more weathered, I guess, and broken, they would have fit. It's an amalgamation of parts, and obviously the prototype has upgraded itself over the years. So you see, even with something like this, I would say there's potential. Oh, I remember this. This is one of the first ever fan designs I ever saw for the prototype. So I thought I'd just throw it in here, you know, least of all for a bit of nostalgia, but also like, yeah, we didn't really know what to think in the start, did we? You know, it makes sense, perhaps, that the prototype as the big bad would look like a factory, look like something that's capable of creating these toys and making more characters. So like, this is obviously crazy, but I kind of get it. I would be so interested to know the story behind the skull, because if this is the same size as like the Maker toy machines from chapter 1, that skull is bloody huge, so I want to know where it came from. I also love when I see a design that's hand-drawn on paper, because it shows that someone just had a design in mind and wanted to get it out there. I've got to give this a point on the comparison scale for having the official original prototype arm in it somehow, just not in the right place. I like this weird crushing arm. I wish we got more of that. Still no idea what's going on over here. So this design is cool, it shows a lot of imagination. I'm going to miss seeing wild, outlandish fan designs like this now that we have an official design. But yeah, core blimey. And those are the designs that I wanted to compare. Just the fan designs I had on my mind. You know, it's fun. Because we had so many different hints at so many different stages. And just over time, even though fan designs as a whole got closer to the official design, there was still some wacky outliers. Like, people were doing everything. And it's just really fun to look back on all of that and just see how close people got. So subscribe if you'd like. Let me know if you've had a fan design for the prototype and how close you got.